The House will come to order. Today's Pledge of Allegiance is by Sean Cunningham, Carter Moody, Spencer Beege, and they're from St. Thomas More School in Centennial, Colorado, and they are guests of Representative Hooton.
Please join us in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Representatives Arndt. Becker J. Excused. Becker K. Excused. Beckman. Benavides. Bridges. Representative Kay Becker is present. Bridges.
Excused.
Buck. Buckner. Carver. Representative Carver.
Representative Carver is excused.
Catlin. Coleman.
Representative Carver is present.
Covarrubias. Danielson. Escar. Everett. Everett. Representative Bridges is present.
Excuse.
Exum. Foot. Foot.
Excuse.
Garnett. Janal. Gray. Hamner. Hamner.
Excuse.
Hanson. Harrod. Putin. Humphrey, excused. Jackson. Excused. Kennedy. Kraft Tharp. Landgraf. Representative Hamner is present. Landgraf. Lawrence. Lee. Lee. Leonard, excused. Lewis. Liston. Lontine. Lundeen. Lundeen. McKean. McLaughlin. Melton.
What up, Tanner?
Michelson Janae. Neville. Pabone. Pedersen. Rankin. Ransom. Ryer. Ryer.
Sorry.
Not sure you caught me earlier.
Excuse.
Roberts. Rosenthal. Sane. Sane. Salazar. Representative Foote is present. Sandridge. Sias. Singer. Representative Ryer is present. Singer.
Excused.
Thurlow. Valdez. Van Winkle. Excuse. Weissman. Willett. Williams. Excused. Wilson. Winter. Wist. Young. Madam Speaker.
Present.
Representative Everett is present.
Okay, so I have Baker J. Carver. Baker J. Humphrey, Jackson, Leonard, Singer, and Winkle. Singer, Van Winkle. Oh, there's Singer.
Representative Singer is present. Representative Carver is present.
Okay, so that leaves you at Humphrey, Jackson, Leonard.
With 58 present and 6 excused, we do have a quorum. Good morning, Representative Hooton.
Morning.
Madam Speaker,
Representative Hooton.
Madam Speaker, I move that the reading of the Journal of Thursday, March 8th, 2018 be dispensed with and approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk.
I remember as you have heard the motion. For those of you listening, please signify by saying aye if you support it.
Aye.
If you are against it, please signify by saying no.
No!
That motion does pass. And members, I just want you to know that in Craig, Colorado right now, our chief clerk just let me know that there is a 4th grade class that are watching us, and their message to all of us was, please behave. So hello to the 4th grade class in Craig, Colorado. I do have one announcement. Representative Kennedy will replace Representative Pedersen on the Public Health Care Committee today only. And with that, announcements and introductions. Representative Coleman, and just one moment. Members, we have some very important and special guests that are here with us today. So I would ask for your attention.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So I have an opportunity and a privilege to make 2 recognitions today here on the House floor I'm very proud to make. One is for my fraternity. Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated was founded on January 5th, 1911 by 10 young men who were students at Indiana University located in Bloomington, Indiana. Kappa Alpha Psi is the 2nd oldest existing collegiate, historically black Greek letter fraternity and the first intercollegiate fraternity incorporated as a national body. It remains the only Greek organization with its Alpha chapter on Indiana University's campus. The fraternity has over 125,000 members with 700 undergraduate and alumni chapters in nearly every state of the United States and international chapters around the world. The Denver alumni chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi is a fixture in the Denver community since its chartering February 20th, 1954, and is committed to achievement in every field of human endeavor, especially community service. To this end, the Denver alumni chapter sponsors and supports numerous events and programs, children youth programs, and training. Each year, our foundation provides 20 to 24 young African-American men with scholarships and money, and for the past 5 years, a full multimedia laptop for computer or college. Over the past years, the foundation has honored more than 700 young African-American men at its annual scholarship and awards luncheon, giving in excess of over $700,000 in scholarships. I'd like to recognize my brothers and especially recognize our president and vice president, known in our fraternity as the pole mark and the vice pole mark, Brother David Boyd and Brother Phil Cannon. Please stand and be recognized, everybody. And then my second quick recognition here, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome Bishop Clement M.F.W. Few, who is my guest and also a guest of Reverend Tyler, who opened us up this morning in prayer. Bishop Few is the presiding prelate of the 5th Episcopal District of the African American Methodist Episcopal Church, which governs the 14 western states west of Mississippi, including Colorado. He's a president of the Bishops' Council of the African American Methodist Episcopal Church, the oldest black Christian denomination in America. Bishop Pugh, thank you for being here today, and thank you for the great work you do in ministry to impact lives of everyone everywhere. Please stand and be recognized.
Representative Melton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And as a member of the Divine Nine of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated and someone who has a special affinity for 1911, I'd like to also welcome you to the House chamber.
On behalf of the entire General Assembly, thank you for joining us today. Further announcements or introductions, Representative Herod and Representative Rankin.
Good morning, Madam Speaker and members. I'd like to welcome the Buell Fellows today from the University of Denver.
They're over here on the side. Everybody say hello. I was just talking to one of the fellows about early childhood programs, so important to our whole continuity of education. So thanks for them all. Oh, and over here too. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes,
Can we
thank
have
you.
a warm welcome for the Buell Fellows from the University of Denver, everyone. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for being here today, and thank you for your advocacy of early childhood education. Madam Speaker Pro Tem Danielson.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Thank you, colleagues. And I think, Madam Speaker, I'm going to give myself a $2 fine.
Okay, that's fine.
So I will pay that. Thank you. Sorry, Marilyn. Because today is a very special day at the Capitol. You may have seen their coffee this morning, but the Denver Regional Council of Governments, or Dr. COG, as you probably know it, is here in the building. And from Larkspur to Frederick, from Clear Creek County to Deer Trail, and everything in between, Dr. COG works to maximize opportunities for transportation, housing, aging, and disability resources to better serve Coloradans' most pressing needs. And I wanted to introduce a few of the leaders from Dr. COG. They're in the back. So please, members, I'll read all their names and then give them a warm welcome for the Dr. COG representatives today. Ashley Summers is the Information Systems Manager. Steve Erickson's Communications Director. Brad Calvert, Planning Director. Doug Rex, Executive Director, and Jayla Sanchez-Warren, Aging Director. And welcome to the Chamber.
Thank you so much for joining us today and all the work that you do. Further announcements or introductions, Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Everybody's listening. I'm not going to ask for 21B. You can relax. But on your desk today is an invitation, and I encourage you all to come next Friday. We're celebrating Women in Public Office Day. The Lieutenant Governor is going to speak. The Attorney General will be speaking. It's not going to be a long day of speeches, just a quick thing in the morning, 8 a.m., Friday, March 16th, on the first floor. We have invited every elected woman in the state, and we're doing this around the nation, and Colorado having the most women in office, I thought we should make a big deal of it. So please be there, 8 a.m., find your invitation. We invited the gentlemen also. There will be plenty of chairs. You all can sit, you know, in the back somewhere. No, everybody's welcome, and I hope for a good turnout. Thank you.
Further discussion, Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, if I could have your attention, this is a critical announcement.
Representative Wilson, do you need some help?
Please, Madam Speaker.
All right.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, on your desk, you have information about Hot Dog Day. Please read it. If you enjoy the hot dogs, we'd enjoy having some of you show up at our caucus meeting. This has been a fallout from not being able to eat in the new rooms. I understand that. But we have a lot of people who come here. They expect to see at least some of us there. So please read the information. There's a paragraph that says if you want the hot dogs to continue, we need to have legislators and others attend the meetings. If folks continue to vanish, so will the dogs. That's not a threat. That's a promise. Thank you.
Further announcements or introductions, Representative Gray.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to introduce Ellie to you, to anybody who hasn't met her before. This is my daughter, Ellie. She's 4 and not the least bit shy at this moment. But she's amazing, and if you want to say hi, by all means, come on by.
Oh, good morning, Ellie. Further announcements or introductions, Madam Speaker Pro Tem Danielson.
Thanks again, Madam Speaker. And on request of Representatives Everett and Melton, Bow Tie, Bolo, and Baby Day, I think you all know Isabel, but I just wanted to say hello and thanks for being so welcoming to her. So have a great day.
She's a cutie. Further announcements or introductions? Any further announcements or introductions? Going once, Going twice. Seeing none. Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, we're going to go to third reading.
We are going to third reading. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1098.
House Bill 1098, Representative Sandra Grail, Senator Marble, concerning the expanded ability of the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission to finance the remediation of oil and gas locations.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1098 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of House Bill 1098 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 58 yes votes, 0 no votes, 6 excused, and 1 vacancy, House Bill 1098 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1021.
House Bill 1021, Representative Hooten and Landgraf, Senator Cafalas, concerning addressing the issue of youth who are experiencing homelessness in Colorado in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1021 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of House Bill 1021 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 40 yes votes, 18 no votes, 6 excused, and 1 vacancy, House Bill 1021 is passed. Co-sponsors. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1172.
House Bill 1172, Representative Young, Senator Lambert, concerning money allocated from appropriation from the marijuana tax cash fund to a designated managed service organization to implement its community action plan.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1172 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is the passage of House Bill 1172 on third reading and final passage. Representative Salazar.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. You know, this bill has showed me the beauty of the legislative process, and I really mean that. Yesterday, walking into the chamber and listening to this bill on second reading, I was kind of ambivalent in terms of where my vote was going to be. I was leaning no, and ultimately rose during the division for no, and also voted for the cow, and still feeling pretty ambivalent about the vote and about this bill, quite frankly. But this is where the legislative process, that constituency coming in, really helped out. right after that vote, I started receiving text messages and I started receiving emails from constituents from nonprofit organizations talking about this bill and talking about how helpful this bill would be. And I weighed that with the really strong arguments yesterday of, well, this is the beginning of the beginning of the beginning. There was no pebbles and mountains in the conversation at all, but at least we got to a beginning. And it made me realize that this is the awesome power that we have as the legislature. That if we feel, upon passage of this bill, that if we feel that we need to peel back and put some guardrails around this issue, that's something that we can certainly do. And I don't think anybody here would really have much of a problem doing that. So in honor of a beginning of a beginning of a beginning, I'm going to turn my vote to yes. Because it was the constituents who reached out to me. It was the nonprofit organizations that reached out to me talking about how important this bill is to them. And that's what I love about this legislative process, is that it's messy, but there's something pure about it too. So I rise in strong support of House Bill 1172.
Further discussion? Representative Pabon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, we had a very good debate yesterday about this bill, and so I don't want to belabor those points. But I do want to make a notation for the record for the legislative history on this bill, because it will be looked to as precedent for future legislatures, future programs, future private nonprofits being able to roll over their funds without oversight from our legislative governmental process. And what I want to make sure that the history reflects is that the substance of this allocation to money allocated to designated managed service organizations is not what this bill is about, even though that's what the short title of the bill is, and that's what is in front of you. That's not what this is about, because we could trot out a number of crises in our state that are happening right now: a transportation crisis, an affordable housing crisis, a wildfire and flood crisis. And that could easily be replaced with, in this title. It is not about the substance of what we're doing here. It is about the fundamental change that we're making to our budgetary process. And there has been argument back and forth about how we're not really changing that process, that this is not new precedent, this is something we've done. And I just want to be very clear about that for the legislative history and for the record. We do allow rollover authority within our own government divisions and systems. And the reason that we feel comfortable doing that is because there is still oversight on these precious taxpayer dollars. That is the calling that we have as the legislature and our role as the budget makers. This is different because this is saying private nonprofits now get to have that rollover authority. The oversight is gone. And if we want to do that, and if we want to go down this road, let's have that substantive conversation, because this affects every private entity, every nonprofit entity. And we should debate whether or not that's the right cause to change. But in this case, we're pitted by substantive interest, opioid crisis being set out to say this is the time for that change, and placing a Hobson's choice in front of us. How could we vote no on this? Because that would send a message that we are against opioid disorder and opioid crisis. That's not the case. And so I want to make clear for the record, for our legislative history, what decision we're making here, even though the language of the bill and the content of the bill may not reflect that. I ask for a no vote.
Representative Young.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I appreciate the vigorous debate that we've had on this issue and the opinions that have been expressed on it. There are some facts, however, that I think we need to be aware of, and that is that we have entities that are statutorily designated to take care of this interface between our government agencies, our departments, and providers in the community. One of those entities are what used to be called BHO, Behavioral Health Organizations. We now have another acronym for them since we've merged primary care and behavioral health. We call them RAEs, R-A-Es, but they're in the statute. We passed the bill last year to actually put them in statute, and they manage they're statutorily identified, and they manage the interface between our departments and the community. Another statutorily identified group of actually either private or nonprofits are our community center boards, CCBs. And they're designated in our statutes, and they manage that interface between our providers and the department. The MSOs, the Managed Service Organizations, are the same thing. They are recognized in statute. They are identified as the interface between departments and our providers. Our department had struggled with this crisis, and our analysts at the JBC 2 years ago came to us and said we should try something a little different to see if we get a better outcome. And we thought we had put the kind of guardrails into that process to make sure that we would be accountable, that we weren't just allowing spending without accountability. There were some implementation problems that we had with that bill, and 1172 was an effort to actually sit down. Our analysts sat down with the department and said, what additional guardrails and checks and balances do you need to have to be sure that we aren't putting the budget at risk? And 1172 is a product of that stakeholder work that our analysts did to ensure that our statutorily identified managed service organization actually had the guardrails in there to ensure that the providers could contemplate large projects that might last more than 1 year and still have the ability to carry those out without actually putting their projects at risk. The department earlier had implemented a 1-year-only plan, which was what we'd been on before, and the providers just said, well, we're only going to do the easy projects that take 1 year to do. We won't contemplate these big projects that we think actually will make a dent in the problem. And so I think we've built in with 1172 the guardrails that are necessary. We brought the department to neutral, and actually the people that manage the contracts at street level were involved and supportive of the guardrails that are built into 1172. So I think we've done the work that we need to do to actually put this into a state of oversight. And I appreciate there's concern, but this is not the first time that we've done this. This is work that we do on a regular basis with these 3 different organizations that are addressing 3 different huge populations in our state. And with that, I ask you for your aye vote.
Representative Reagan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and strive for a little clarity, I hope. But there are really 2 things that I know you're all thinking about. One is the original bill, 202 from last year, which actually let us look at a very important need, which was crisis management centers in areas where they didn't exist. Very important to my area. We're looking at a crisis management center in Montrose, one in Summit County. So some of you didn't really want to do that because you weren't ready to address the overall crisis management opioid system. This bill says that we didn't get that work all done, and so we need to spend some of that money in the next year. Now, we've heard that we're opening the floodgates to nonprofits who are going to take this money and run off and do something. This is the absolute opposite of that. This is oversight. Rather than saying that we're opening up some new precedent, we're actually following our procedure for rolling money over, and we do it all the time. We did 3rd readings on one this morning. that had to do with rolling over money to clean up orphan wells. Very important issue. This one does happen to be with a nonprofit, but it doesn't mean, as I think has been implied, that from now on all nonprofit programs will roll over to the next year. This is one program, it's very specific, and it's the very essence of the kind of oversight that we have always exhibited and always will.
Further discussion, Representative Martins.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I was a no yesterday, and I want to say that I've listened to the arguments, and I'm very sympathetic to wanting a two-year budget cycle, but doesn't everybody want a two-year budget cycle? I mean, everybody's seeking certainty in state funds into the future. Every single group I talk to and work with. So I'm going to trust the JBC, and I'm going to vote yes today because it seems like we've done this before. I'm convinced that we do have oversight, but I would like to request that we sit down as a General Assembly and review our budget process, our budget cycle, how we do it, and perhaps we go to a two-year budget cycle for the whole state. Thank you.
Further discussion. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. All right, everybody has voted. Mr. Randall, please close the machine. With 39 yes votes, 19 no votes, 6 excused, and 1 vacancy, House Bill 1172 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1246.
House Bill 1246, Representative Danielson, Serve Quorum, concerning updates to Colorado Nursery Act and in connection with modernizing the Act of protecting agriculture from pest diseases and noxious weeds.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1246 on third reading and final passage.
Question before us is the passage of House Bill 1246 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 45 yes votes, with 44 yes votes, 14 no votes, 6 excused, and 1 vacancy. Please, House Bill 1246 is passed. Co-sponsors. Co-sponsors. You have a very proud daughter there, Speaker Pro Tem Danielson. Please close the machine. All right, Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 5.
Senate Bill 5 by Senators Donovan and Scott, House Representative Roberts, concerning economic assistance for rural communities experiencing certain significant economic events that lead to substantial job loss in those communities. In connection therewith, authorizing the Department of Local Affairs to coordinate non-monetary assistance with assistance for rural communities with job creation and retention.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 5 on third reading and final passage.
Question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 5 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 36 yes votes, 22 no votes, 6 excused, and 1 vacancy, Senate Bill 5 is passed. Co-sponsors. Co-sponsors for rural Colorado. Please close the machine. All right, Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 10.
Senate Bill 10 by Senator Martinez Dominican Williams, also Representative Exum, concerning the requirement that the residential landlord provide a tenant with specified documents relevant to landlord-tenant relationship in connection with their specifying rent receipts and copies of any written lease agreements or documents must be provided.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 10 on third reading and final passage.
Question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 10 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Beckman. Please close the machine. With 38 yes votes, 20 no votes, 6 excused, and 1 vacancy, Senate Bill 10 is passed. Co-sponsors. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. And members, you may see on page 4 of the calendar, there is a section called Conference Committees to Report. We're going to address that issue right now. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1171.
House Bill 1171, Representative Hamner, also Senator Lundberg concerning adjustments in the amount of total program funding for public schools for the 2017-18 budget year and in connection therewith making and introducing an appropriation.
Representative Hamner.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, I move that the First Conference Committee on House Bill 1171 be granted permission to go beyond the scope of the differences between the two houses.
All right, members, you have heard the motion. Representative Hamner, would you like to tell us why?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Why, yes, I would. Members, if you recall, this is the supplemental bill for school finance for this budget year in which we are currently operating. And the difference between the Senate and the House at this time has to do with about $7 million. And I realize going into the conference committee that's scheduled upon adjournment today that we have a possible elegant compromise that does go beyond the scope of the original conference committee concept. So I just ask for your support of allowing the conference committee members to reach compromise. So I ask for a yes vote on the motion.
All right. Representative Rankin. And members, just so you know, this is a recorded vote, so we'll have to open the machine in just a moment. Representative Rankin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I asked for a yes vote on the to go beyond the scope. I think we need a little leeway. I think we have a compromise potentially worked out, so thank you for voting yes.
Representative Lundin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As a matter of process and policy, we all appreciate so very much the work that the JBC does. Their work is diligent and they bring us great products, but at the same time, we've had conversations about the need for the entire body, the 100 legislators, to be involved in the process. So I guess I'm just looking for a little clarity since this was a subject of debate. It could have been handled in a different way. The JBC now is in control of this conference committee. I'm curious what the elegant compromise might look like before I vote as to expanding the authority.
I think we will report that.
Representative Rankin.
We have to bring that back to the body, so you'll have a chance to look at it.
All right, with that, Ms. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Rare, please close the machine. With 49 yes votes, 9 no votes, 6 excused, and 1 vacancy, the conference committee can go beyond the scope on House Bill 1171. All right, so, Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that we proceed out of order for the consideration of Senate Joint Resolution 007.
All right. Seeing no objection, we will proceed out of order for the consideration of SJR 7. Mr. Randall, please read the title of SJR 7.
Senate Joint Resolution 7 by Senators Zenzinger and Lambert, also Representatives Carver and Pedersen, concerning the designation of March 2nd, 2018 as National Speech and Debate Education Day in Colorado.
All right, Representative Carver and Representative Pedersen is making her way down. Representative Carver.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I rise in support of SJR 18-007 and move for its approval.
Okay, properly moved. Representative Carver.
Madam Speaker, this is to recognize the importance of the forensic teams that are a very important extracurricular activity at so many of our high schools. And in my district, Air Academy High School has consistently been in the top 10% in the nation on their forensic debate team. Cheyenne Mountain High School also with an outstanding forensic team, very competitive. And so this is just to recognize the outstanding work that those high schools do, and glad to pay the fine, Madam Speaker. At Cheyenne Mountain High School, the faculty coach Liz Coop, assistant coach Lauren Hadspick, and at Air Academy, Renee Motter and Stephanie Botsford, truly dedicated staff that help our kids hone their speaking ability.
All right, and that will, please do pay for the fine. Representative Wilson is asking for $5. I would just ask for $1. Representative Pedersen.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I know we're trying to keep these short, but I stand in support of this resolution. This provides a great opportunity for students to learn on how to interact and debate in school and ultimately maybe even become lawmakers like us. So thank you all for your support.
All right, the question before us is the passage of SJR 7. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying no. SJR 7 is passed. Would somebody like to make a motion on co-sponsors, or do you want the machine opened? There needs to be a motion. Representative Carver.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Excuse me. I ask that the roll call of this morning be added as co-sponsors to the resolution.
All right, seeing no objection, the morning's roll call will be added as co-sponsors. All right, Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Announcements and introductions. Oh, I could, yeah.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to lay over the balance of the calendar until Monday, March 12th.
All right, seeing no objection, the balance of the calendar will be laid over. With that, announcements and introductions. Representative Singer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Public Health Care and Human Services Committee will be looking forward to seeing you in room 271. We are getting remote testimony set up right now, so we will see you all at 10:30.
All right, further announcements or introductions? Representative Liston.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have two announcements. One, members, just to refresh your memory, today at 1 o'clock, for those of you who can, there's going to be the official dedication of the plaque of the USS Colorado down in the West Foyer. It's going to start about 1 or 1:15, so you're all invited. It should be an historic day, so come on down and help us kick off the USS Colorado. And the, second announcement, members, we've got more good economic news. I just can't help myself. Just keeps rolling in. Today, it was announced by the U.S. Labor Department that the U.S. economy added 313,000 new jobs in February. That was much stronger than economists expected, and it was the biggest gain in almost 2 years. The unemployment rate has stayed at 4.1%, the lowest in 17 years. And in the first 2 months of this year, the United States has already added more jobs, more than 500,000 jobs. February has also marked the 89th consecutive month of job gains, which is the longest streak since the Labor Department kept track since the 1940s. A couple of quotes from noted economists: "We're heating up, but there's still plenty of room for growth in the American economy. We still have room to run." Job gains for December and January were both revised higher, and new positions were added across the board. So we have great news, and I know my friends on the other side of the aisle want to take some credit. So isn't it good news for the American economy?
Representative Hansen. Representative Hansen.
Good morning, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much.
Apparently, the beatings will continue until morale improves. I think we really do need to celebrate good news of people getting jobs, and that's great, but I think we also need to look at the detail behind the headlines, and that's one of the things we get to do here in the Colorado House of Representatives. A big chunk of the new job growth is coming out of construction, which are highly cyclical and typically do not have the staying power from job growth in other sectors. I think we need to understand the intricacies of some of these headline numbers that we're getting. I also want to point out that our friends in Washington have decided to start some trade wars around the world. Unfortunately, we're headed in a direction of protectionism and high tariff levels, which have the significant threat of undermining any new economic growth in the country. And I think many of my friends on the other side would agree. In fact, the bastion of liberal journalism in the state of Colorado, otherwise known as the Colorado Springs Gazette, today's headline, Trump rolls out steep trade tariffs. Folks, this is very bad news for agriculture, it's very bad news for the state of Colorado, and it's very bad news for the United States. Let's keep these things in mind.
Further announcements or introductions? Representative Eskar has been waiting. Representative Eskar.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And while we talk about good economic news, I would ask that all of you please keep the 300 families in Pueblo who were just laid off from a Centura Hospital at St. Mary Corwin in your thoughts this weekend. As we celebrate all the good economic news, realize it's not impacting every community yet.
Thank you, Representative Eskar. I did not know that. My grandmother worked at St. Mary Corwin. Representative Buck.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I have to tell you that I don't think it's under debate, okay? We hear news every day, and it's not to look at the possibilities of gloom and doom. Manufacturing businesses hired 31,000 workers. Business and financial institutions added 28,000 jobs. Folks, we got to look at the moment, and we got to cherish that nugget of joy that we continue to be making America great again.
Further announcements or introductions? Are we moving on to another topic? Because I hope so. Representative Ransom and Representative Singer.
Want to kick it off this time?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We want to invite everybody to come to lunch. When we're talking about economics, there is such thing as a free lunch, and you're invited to enjoy it with us with the Children's Caucus on Monday at noon in SCR 357, and we will be hearing two topics, two presentations. One is from the Bell Policy Center. They're going to talk to us about the cliff effect.
And Madam Speaker,
Representative Singer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. One correction for Public Health Care and Human Services, we're in room 107, not 271, but we'll see you in room 107. Also at the Colorado Children's Caucus, the Children's Campaign with Bill Jager will be there to talk about the two-generation strategy, which I believe is being illustrated by Representative Gray and his daughter right now. We look forward to seeing you Monday to talk about the two-generation strategy. You've seen it. Now we'll get to talk about it with some free lunch Monday at noon.
Representative McKean.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Folks, you may not know this, you may not care, but I work with the United States Coast Guard, and we got a delightful message this morning, because this only happens every once in a while. There is only one admiral in the United States Coast Guard, and that's the boss, that's the commandant. And if any of you watched the Katrina cleanup, the Gulf Coast oil spill cleanup, if you watched any of the work that the Coast Guard does each and every day, you will know that it is not only an incredibly efficient, but an incredibly important organization. As of this morning, we have a new admiral. So we have today, Admiral Carl Schultz is the 26th Commandant of the United States Coast Guard. Bravo Zulu, Admiral Schultz. And we also have Vice Admiral Charles Ray, who will be the 31st Vice Commandant to the U.S. Coast Guard. Bravo Zulu, gentlemen. Look forward to working with you.
Further discussion? Further announcements, introductions, seeing none. Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House stand in recess till 12 o'clock today.
All right, seeing no objection, the House will stand in recess. Members, I hope you have a good weekend.